do it successfully without using some form of cover, and a lot of that times that is the officer's vehicle, so you can see how the suspect can see that vehicle and avoid it right away. We're continuing southbound here on the 405, coming up in the Westchester area, about to cross under the Marina Del Rey freeway. And getting close to LAX, which it sometimes does get a little busy in that area with people heading in and out of the airport. Yeah, Rod, that's affirmative. We're looking that way. The 405 looks pretty good. One of the issues here with air traffic control, we may have to do a different transition if he continues southbound here. We're going to have to climb and do what's called a midfield cross across LAX. That means going right over the top of the two runways. So we're going to actually do that right now. We're going to start going down south on Sepulveda, getting some altitude, and we'll try to keep this in shot. It might be a little bit of a long shot because it will be a lot further west than the suspect. Well, let's see here. What's he going to do? It looks like he's getting off the freeway possibly, and that would be great. Maybe at Howard Hughes or even the 90. We'll let you know in a second here.
Or not. It looks like the very erratic driving, maybe second guessing their decision making, because again, this started in the valley. Now it's in the South Bay, so it's anyone's guess exactly how long this tank of gas is going to last the suspect as well, because we all know these commutes, and we all know when you have a big car like that, they're gas guzzlers.
Yeah, he's passed up Howard Hughes Parkway, southbound 405. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to climb here, and we're going actually flying a little bit divergent course, flying away from the suspect in the pursuit right now. We're going to do a midfield cross at LAX. We've got to get some altitude to do that, so we can continue to bring you this pursuit without interfering with LAX's air traffic. But we'll try to give you the best shot we can as we continue, as the pursuit continues, southbound on the 405, coming through, coming up on Florence.
No, and we understand what you have to do, because that's exactly where all the planes land, right over the 405 as they land into LAX, right. And that's the area with a lot of congestion there. So you have to, what is it? You have to try to get above the airplanes as they start landing at LAX.
Yeah, what we do actually, Carlos, is there's a midfield transition right over Sepulveda Boulevard, and we climb to altitude right over the center of the airport. That allows the airplanes that are touching down and taking off to do that below us, and with plenty of separation. This is a route that we're given by LAX, and it's approved. So we've lost it for a second just because there's some terrain here, but we're going to stay with it as best we can. We're going to hold that shot there, Rich, and we'll see what we can get here. As right now we are right over the runways at LAX, and as soon as we get to the 105, we can cut back to the eastbound and pick up the pursuit again as it comes back to us southbound.
And obviously the 105 is right, that direct link into LAX, and we will be able to see if this is causing any tie-up for travelers who are trying to get in and out of LAX. But again, this area, this driver has really been leading authorities on a chase for quite some time now. This started just after noon, and I know that we've been tracking this suspect driving at slow speeds, Carlos, and then driving at high speeds and erratic, thinking the person's going to get off on the freeway and then stays on. And I mean, this is dangerous driving, and it's dangerous not only for the suspect, for law enforcement, and for the community.
Yeah, it started in the Calabasas area, like you said, just after noon. Went on the 101 eastbound, then got on the 405 northbound, got on the 210 east, then came back to the 405 heading south, and some people would have thought that he might have gone back to where it started, but no, decided to keep going south on the 405, and that's where he is right now, near LAX, and you can see there the CHP right behind him. They've been behind him the entire time, and heading out near the LAX area. Now we're starting to see him again as we start passing the airport and can get a close look at him.
Go for it, JT.
We've cleared the LAX airspace. We're now south of it in the Hawthorne airspace right now. We are just south of the 105. We are looking north up the 405 as it continues southbound. We'll see what he does if he transitions to the 105 or not right now, but he'll continue. Again, I keep saying he, and I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but the suspect continuing southbound here, coming up on the 105. We'll see if there's any transition made here.
Yeah, if they take that 105 too, they could just kind of drop off at the beach area. So you just never know what the suspect's thinking, but they certainly are sort of a distance away from Canoga Park, which is where you said you did a vehicle check, and that's where this the registration was leading back to. So, and again, it makes sense that they started the chase. You were saying that it may have started in Burbank, but at least it started in the valley, and they're pretty far away from the valley right now.
Yeah, it's again, we see that a lot. Depending on how much fuel the suspect has, it could very well see them going back to the San Fernando Valley at some point here. But we have passed up the 105. We're continuing southbound, coming up on obviously through the Hawthorne area, Lawndale area, getting into the South Bay curve, and the next probably 5 or 10 minutes. Looking ahead, getting a little bit of traffic here on the southbound of 405. Not too bad. Nothing, not as bad as what we saw just south of the 10 freeway, but pretty much clear sailing through the South Bay curve here. But yeah, it's very possible, Colleen and Carlos, that wait a minute, we're slowing down here.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's slowing down to get around traffic or. Yeah, he's in the HOV lane right now. We're going to slow down just a little bit. I'm looking ahead. He's got a couple vehicles in front of them. But not, yeah, just trying to negotiate that up on the left shoulder and the HOV as he gets around these cars. But it's very possible. I mean, these vehicles actually hold a lot of fuel here, and continuing on, going down to 50 miles an hour because of traffic. So we may actually look, if we can push in here, we may see that the front tire, let's double up on that, Rich, if we can, trying to see if maybe he did get hit on that spike strip. Like that, my monitor's kind of blacked out here, but maybe it's hard to see. It's hard to see at that left side. If he would have hit that left side, it would have been the left side, not the right side, because we saw him avoid to swerve to miss it. So it doesn't look that spike strip did the job there, making a very hard right turn over to the right lanes, cutting through traffic. So we'll see what, maybe just trying to get around some of this slowing here. Again, the slowing is not too bad. He should be around this here shortly as they get into the South Bay curve, but speeds are slower. So
I'm sort of surprised, though, JT, that there's not more traffic right now on the 405. To be honest, I know I do this commute every day. It seems, and now we've now gone through Del Air. Now we're in Hawthorne. So the suspect certainly making their way through the area. Several cities has gone through. I know. Again, we started in Calabasas or Burbank, but kind of kept backtracking forward through the valley, and then now in Hawthorne. So on the 405 South. So this. I mean, anyone's guess when this car is going to run out of gas.
Yeah, we're coming up on Rosecrans here, just kind of entering the South Bay curve here. Yeah, that's the question right now. He's definitely slowing down quite a little bit. I'm going to ask for an IFB change to Santiago if I can as we continue southbound here, but definitely slow down a little bit. We thought that the spike strip may have hit something, or he might hit the spike strip, and what those are, a lot of people ask me, what does a spike strip do? How does it work? And it's a lot of these hollow pointed tubes. When the suspect runs over to the vehicle, what these do is these hollow tubes will enter the tire, and it's almost like a very sharp straw, and it'll slowly deflate that tire. The whole idea of that is to not blow out and cause a wreck, hurting either the suspect or anybody around the vehicle, private citizens driving their vehicles. It's to slowly deflate. And we've seen it time and time again where these guys run forever on their rims even. 4 tires completely blown out, and they're just running forever on the rim. So that's what happens in these situations. We'll see if it is another chance for them to actually deploy the spike strip, and if it does, we'll tell you after it happens. As the pursuit continues here, we're going to be southbound on the 405 approaching Inglewood Avenue.
Is there a concern that the longer this goes on, this driver gets tired, maybe a little more desperate? Because earlier we saw that the way they were changing lanes was not as drastic as we've seen in the last 2 minutes, where they're going across 3 or 4 lanes at once. Is there a concern that as they get more tired, more desperate, they might do things that are even more erratic?
Well, yeah, that's always the case. And again, we remember what the suspect was originally wanted for, and that was driving under the influence. So that always can have effect. They don't know what substances the driver might be under. That was the original want. So yeah, that's always the case. And again, you don't know what the emotional state of the suspect is. Don't know what's going on in there. Is it, there's a lot of things that could be going on in their mind, and that's always a concern. So it doesn't look like CHP is putting a lot of pressure on the suspect driving the vehicle. They are giving a pretty wide berth here. Well, I can see 2 more vehicles, but you can see the SUV, the CHP SUV vehicles, and the last time I spoke about this were in. Now we've got a couple sedan cruisers in right now. You can see how they constantly are switching out, keeping cruising the pursuit, making sure they don't get tunnel vision. This is all a tactic CHP uses as the pursuit continues.
Well, they certainly know the highways. They know the best way of sort of doing these pursuits. They do them constantly. As this suspect makes its way, we don't know if it's a male or female, makes their way through Torrance, now in Torrance, where, again, it's anyone's guess when the suspect's going to be pulling over. But JT, you sort of, if somebody hits a spike strip, I thought that their tire would go out pretty quickly. So it's sort of a slow leak.
Yeah, it is, and that's done. That's designed on purpose here. We're gonna try to get the shot back here for a second here as we continue southbound, approaching Crenshaw here. That is the idea. It's designed specifically to do that. They don't want a blowout. If you have a blowout at these speeds, it's very possible, in fact, probable. Suspect's going to lose control of that vehicle and then hurt an innocent victim here on the road. So it's all designed to slowly deflate the tire, and it works very, very effectively. The whole problem, though, is getting it deployed and getting that suspect to run it over. That's always the hard part, and very dangerous for officers as well.
So he or she is getting near the 110 from what I see, and we'll have to make a decision, either go straight or maybe go north or south on the 110.
Yep, coming up on Van Ness and Western Avenue here, just a couple miles ahead is the 110 freeway. We'll see what he does here. Is again coming up on Western. And right now we're passing 190th Street here. But again, in that is basically staying in the left lane. We've seen it a couple times where the suspect has veered over to the right, trying to trick the officers into that he's going on an off-ramp, but that's never going to work. There's too many officers, and they've been to this movie many times. They know exactly what they're doing, so that never works. But only works on television and the movies. But they're continuing here, and again, this is one of those pursuits that is not reckless or that reckless. The speeds are a little higher, but we haven't seen any near misses. We haven't seen them hit anybody, so that's always a good thing. And we always want to reiterate, we do these pursuits because it's especially important that if these suspects get off, and especially in the surface street areas, and especially in summertime, you got kids out playing, we want to make sure that our viewers know and understand that a pursuit is in their area and coming through the area. So in order to get, make those decisions at home, whether I should stay in the house or go out. So that's kind of why we bring these things to you and our viewership, to make sure that you guys know and are aware of where the suspect is, what he's doing, what he's wanted for, so you can make the decisions you need to see if you need to go out as we come into the area coming up on that 110 freeway.
No kidding. And JT, you say it really is for public awareness, but when you're driving on the freeways, you don't necessarily think you're going to be involved in a high-speed pursuit or you're going to be any pursuit whatsoever. So I would think once you see the helicopters, because the helicopters are usually above as well, so it's quite troubling when you're driving along. And I would think if I'm driving, I do try to keep my radar open just in case there's anything like this.
Yeah, and unfortunately in Southern California, it happens more often than not. It wouldn't be surprising if you've seen or talked to people that have seen a pursuit go by them or near them. It's just something that happens in our area. As we continue southbound, it looks like we're going to pass right over the 110 freeway, so he's not taking that. We're also getting information, a lot of debris on the freeway today, where we're hearing that there possibly is a refrigerator in lanes up at Avalon, so the officers are being advised of that. I'm not sure which lane it is, but we'll keep an eye on that. But continuing southbound the 405 at the 110, but yeah, people get used to seeing this kind of stuff out here, and it's a shame that that's the case. But in Southern California, we seem to see these quite often. They happen in spurts. We've had a few of them here in the past few days, and they tend to go like that. And most Southern Californians are pretty versed on seeing these things happen.
Now, by being on the left lane, on the HOV lane, it almost seems like this person has no intention of getting off the freeway. That's, the way I drive is when I'm on that lane, I know I have a long way to go before I start moving to the right to get off the freeway. Right. It looks like this person just seems like they're going to stay heading, well, maybe not, but heading south as long as they can.
Yeah, he seems to be, when he looks ahead and he sees, looking out the window here, he sees someone in that HOV lane. He tends to get over and get around it and then go pop back in. But we've seen that before, though, right from that left lane and just do a dramatic lane change all the way over to the off ramps and get off the freeway. So that. Yeah, now we're getting into some heavy traffic here, but it doesn't actually last long. That might be that thing at Avalon we were talking about, but it's slowing down a little bit. Not too bad. He's going to be able to negotiate this. It's not at a stop. It's moving at about 30 miles an hour. So again, and it picks up pretty quickly here as it continues southbound on the 405 freeway, coming in the Torrance area.
Yeah, absolutely. And JT, just in case we want to give a warning for people, if you do need to get out and you still want to be involved and know exactly where this chase is going, you can watch this. Is streaming live on abc7.com and on our ABC7 app, so you can watch it, you can see what's going on, you can see if it's going to be in your area.
And that's something you definitely want to know if it's in your area, to tell friends or family, hey, don't be on the 405, or if you see them getting off the freeway, just to be careful, because you just don't know what this person could do, because they may be desperate at this time. Who knows what they're concerned about, which is why they decided to go on this pursuit.
Right, yeah, and that's very, very important to get that out there and trying to keep the public aware and informed of the pursuit. Again, we don't know much right now. We know that it's a reckless and a failure to yield. And usually in those situations, what they'll do, officers will just basically get them another time. But it looks like the California Highway Patrol and possibly sheriffs know more about this that we may not know, and want to get this suspect into custody. We just passed Avalon here. You can see those speeds picking up again. It could have been because that was a reported debris, that refrigerator in lanes that caused that slowing. We did not see it, but we are continuing southbound here as we come probably about 5 miles an hour, probably about 5 miles away from the let's see, that is going to be the 710 freeway. We'll see what he does at the 710. About 50 miles an hour. Looks like that's increasing right now.
All right. Well, it's still certainly making their way through the area. And again, we've been on this for, gosh, at least it's been happening just after noon. And
an hour
again,
and 40 minutes.
We don't know if this suspect was pulled over or wanted to be pulled over in Burbank or if it's in Calabasas. We're hearing some conflicting reports on exactly where this suspect was trying to be pulled over, but we do know that suspect ended up, going through Tarzana, going through the San Fernando Valley, through Sherman Oaks and Van Nuys and North Hills, and we sort of went through everywhere, then making their way through the Sepulveda Pass and then making their way eventually to the South Bay. So this suspect it certainly has a lot of time on their hands, a lot of fuel in that tank to be continuously to be driving throughout this afternoon.
And a lot of luck with those freeways being pretty clear.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's just past Wilmington here. And you said it, oftentimes we've covered a lot of pursuits, and it just seems like they get the luck of the draw sometimes when it comes to the traffic, which is actually a good thing because you don't want the suspect caught up in this traffic, and then you have what's called a lot of crossfire, and officers don't want that. If this does end on the freeway and they go into what's called a high-risk felony stop, there are going to be weapons drawn, and their biggest concern as law enforcement officers is that people right in front of the suspect are in the crossfire, and if they have to deploy their weapons and they have to shoot at the suspect, if there's a weapon involved on the suspect's end, that it becomes a crossfire situation that they may not be able to shoot back. So always a dangerous situation. We're not saying the suspect is armed, and as far as we know, the suspect is not armed, but we don't have all the details. As you see, California Highways Patrol A-Star, that's an Airbus 350 B3 coming through the shot right now. They are over this pursuit. They're monitoring the pursuit, and that is your most important tool in this pursuit. They are able to see everything up ahead, everything down below. If the suspect gets out and he runs, they're the ones that are going to tell the ground officers where he's at, set up a containment or a perimeter, and they're going to be the coordinating factor, helping that supervisor in that pursuit make the decisions he needs to keep everybody safe. Here, southbound 405, coming up on the 710 here.
All right, JT. And also, we want to talk about some other breaking news at this moment. We are just finding out that former LA County Sheriff Lee Baca withdrew his guilty plea, so it's going to be set for a trial. And this has been something that his defense attorney was sort of surprised that the judge says no, 6 months in jail is not enough time.
Right. When Lee Baca was in court a couple of weeks ago, the judge said this is not acceptable and was not happy with the plea agreement. And just last week, they were trying to work out something. But again, obviously, they could not work it out because he's withdrawing the guilty plea and will now go to trial.
So we'll hear what happened with Judge Anderson's decision because, again, this is going to have a lot of weight. Everybody was assuming that him taking that guilty plea, he was going to get 6 months in jail. We know Paul Tanaka was being sentenced to several years in jail for the corruption scandals. So, again, this is breaking news. We're going to have the very latest coming up on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock and then, of course, at 4 and 5. So continue to watch that. But, again, former County L.A. Sheriff Lee Baca withdrawing his guilty plea. That case will now go to trial.
And meanwhile, this pursuit continues, was going through Long Beach just a few seconds ago, and still on the 405, still the same pattern of weaving in and out of lanes, keeping it a somewhat constant speed of about, what is it now, like 70 miles an hour or so?
Yeah, I'd say about 70, Carlos, about 70 miles an hour, southbound 405. We're about across Atlantic Boulevard here in the Long Beach area, coming up on Long Beach Airport. The speeds have been pretty much the same here, unless when he gets caught in traffic, he slows down, which is good news. Most suspects, when they get into that traffic, they maintain the same speed and they drive even more recklessly. So the suspect obviously not a crazy pursuit, always dangerous because they're failing to yield, but not putting the citizens at large in much danger as we've seen in some of these other pursuits, which is always a good news. You can see he's making his way over the left side shoulder there, trying to get around these cars here. But again, speeds are fast, obviously wanting to stay out of custody as long as they can, but obviously CHP and possibly the sheriffs, if they are trailing behind this for the original want, are going to take them into custody very shortly, hopefully.
And he or she seems to be speeding up there a little bit now.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen probably 80 right now. They'll get into some clear traffic, which is what we're seeing right now as we cross Cherry Avenue here, southbound 405 in the Long Beach area. And in fact, we're not going to pull out, but just above your shot right now, which is above the shot, we're crossing over the Long Beach airport, which is very, very close as the freeway goes right by here. And our next freeway interchange will be the 605 freeway as we get down into the Los Alamitos area. But still got some time to go before that. But yeah, speeds are increasing. Carlos and Colleen, you can see that he or she gets into that open traffic right now, starting to weave a little bit more. Again, we'd really like to find out if there's additional wants, because I mentioned it earlier. If this is just a failure to yield and a possible DUI and reckless, more than likely in these situations, the supervisor in charge will go into a tracking mode or back order pursuit. So it's very possible that they know more than we know right now, that the suspect may be wanted for something more credible.
Absolutely. And JT, I don't know if it might just be my eyesight, but every now and then it seems like the CHP tries to get somewhat close to this SUV, like, come on, just pull over, you see us right here, and then they back off again. I don't know.
Yeah, what they'll do, that's a tactic they use to try to put a little pressure on them to make sure that the suspect knows, hey, we're still here, we're not going anywhere, and then they'll back off. So that's something that sometimes they'll do if the conditions are safe to do so. Again, what they don't want to do is they don't want to entice the suspect to drive more recklessly or drive faster here on the southbound 405 at Lakewood here, just right near the Long Beach Airport. About 85 miles an hour right now, so he had picking up some speeds. We've seen him in the San Fernando Valley at those speeds, but you'll see that the CHP will bump up and just say, hello, we're still here, and get a little closer to him, and then obviously the suspect sped up a little bit, so that might not be something they want to continue to do. We'll see if that continues.
And again, at these speeds, they just want to be behind him or her. They don't want to do anything that could endanger the public.
That's right. And when they want to be, even though we mentioned it earlier, their emergency equipment on these vehicles are very hard to see and hear, especially on the freeway. They want to try to be as close to the suspect as they can to let some people know that if they can get close and they can hear it coming, especially if he starts driving more erratically, that, hey, the emergency equipment is there for a reason. It's to let everybody know that this pursuit is coming their way and to be aware. So
you said it's near the 605. Have they approached that yet?
So we're actually at crossing over Bellflower Boulevard right now. Then we've got, I believe, Woodruff is an off-ramp, and then we're at the 605, and we'll see the transitions onto the 605.
Yeah. Again, you were saying it earlier. It does seem like very often when we do these high-speed pursuits, the CHP pursuits, that there's not a lot of traffic on the freeways. When we clearly know, anyone who navigates these freeways, we see so much traffic on a day-to-day basis. But it is sort of the luck of the draw. And I thought it would be better if there was traffic, because they'd have to just stop. But I guess you're saying it's probably best that they get to just kind of run out of gas or...
Yeah, it's not good if it stops and you've got a lot of people around when they stop. That has to do with the public safety and officer safety. If it does go to a use of force situation, they don't want to have to deal with that background situation with endangering citizens that may stop. And a lot of times, if the suspect stops, the traffic in front of them will continue on and continue to move on. But if the suspect stops because of the vehicle is disabled, a lot of times the people ahead of the suspect will stop too, because they're not really certain what's going on. They're not sure. They're not sure of the people in front of them. They're getting pulled over. So you'll see a lot of that when people get out of their cars. But the idea is, if you can get out of the way, get out of the way. If your car is operational and you can drive out of the way, and you look in your rear view mirror and you see officers with a gun drawn and it's clearly not your car, or they're not giving you commands, get out of the way. But sometimes it's hard for people to know. They don't know if the commands are being given to them or that black SUV behind them. So it can be very confusing at times, and people not really sure what to do. So you want to be aware of that situation. That's the reason they don't want to do that with the public. As we cross underneath the 605 freeway, continuing on the southbound 405 through the Los Alamitos area.
So how many CHP units are behind him? We only see one. Are there any others? There they are.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking back. We'll stay tight. I'm looking back. I see about 4 or 5 units behind them. Looks like there's a CHP motorcycle officer in trail right now as I continue through the Seal Beach area. But so they got plenty of units to handle the suspect. It depends. A lot of different agencies have a lot of different pursuit policies. For instance, they only allow so many units in a pursuit depending on what the suspect's wanted for. In a situation like this, there may be only 1 or 2 units, maybe LAPD or the Sheriff's Department, and a supervisor, a primary, a secondary, and a supervisor unit, and then, of course, the area unit overhead. Now, it is up to the discretion of the officers involved in the pursuit that have all the information involving what the suspect's wanted for, how many suspects are in the vehicle, if there's weapons involved, where they can actually ask for more units and request those units. Again, I'm not certain of CHP's policy on that, but what you may see here is some of those units behind, maybe units getting in position to transition into the primary and secondary position to take that over from the units that are there now. But everybody has their own pursuit policy, and it's designed to protect the public. It's designed actually to protect the suspects as well, and they want this to end. You can see that SUV coming into place right now. He's probably going to transition into the primary position, and you'll see that sedan back out of that pursuit. So that's exactly what we're talking about. This is something that CHP does that a lot of other agencies do not do unless their vehicle becomes disabled, the switching out of the unit during a pursuit.
Wow. Well, of course, the CHP, they're in charge of all the highways, so you don't really have to go in with all the jurisdictions who are trying to maintain their lead in this, because it's the CHP who takes the lead on this, and they just keep moving officers in and out, which kind of makes it for a seamless tracking situation to try to pull this person in. So as we've seen, yep. JT, you sort of you called it right on, right when you were saying it. It is as if the officers were hearing and they did the switch out. But it does seem to make sense where the CHP has that sort of, because they are in charge of the highways, they get to go in and out. They don't have the jurisdiction limitations.
Right. Well, I mean, it really depends on the nature of the crime. We've seen this before. We actually just came up on the transition here between the 405 and the 22. The suspect decided to stay on the 405 freeway southbound, where the 22 splits off to the east and the 405 splits off to the southeast. So we're coming down into the Westminster area as we continue in pursuit. But it depends. It really depends on how quickly and how long they stay on the freeways. If an agency is in pursuit of a suspect that's wanted, let's say for a very serious crime, let's say murder or robbery, a lot of the times the primary agencies, whether it be LAPD or the sheriffs, will stay with the pursuit even if it's on the highway. If it's on the freeway for any extended periods of time, they may ask the CHP to take it over while it's on the highway, but they will trail behind the pursuit and lose, because they're the ones that are going to be responsible for taking that suspect into custody and being held responsible for answering for the crimes they did in their particular area. I'm not sure that's the case right now. Looking back, I do not see anything other than CHP in this pursuit. So again, that may go to knowing what exactly is involved here. We're back up to 90 miles an hour here as we come through the Westminster area southbound on the 405.
And now in Orange County, after being in LA County the entire time, now the suspect is in Orange County, and as you said, 90 miles an hour. That's a bit faster than we've seen this person driving in the last hour and 52 minutes.
Yeah, it's really picking up speed now. I'd say 90 plus, judging here as we come up on I think Beach Boulevard here southbound on the 405. Looking ahead, don't see a lot of traffic ahead, a lot of open highway, and the suspect seems to do that when he gets into this open highway area. Seems to pick up speeds and slows down when traffic slowdowns, which is obviously really, really good news. And we're gonna let's see here, continuing southbound here, and we'll keep you updated on. I think we're at Bolsa right now. I didn't quite hear that, but the speeds are increasing as we come to the Orange County area. We're going to keep you updated on where he is and his activities. But yeah, picking up speeds a little bit. Long pursuit. I mean, there's a lot of fuel in there, and maybe unfortunately the suspect had a lot of fuel in his tanks at this time as we continue down through Golden West here on southbound 405.
Absolutely. And JT, let's just, out of curiosity, if they try to use a spike strip again, obviously maybe not right now when the suspect's going so fast, but if they have those tires that are run flat tires, could that also extend the amount of time that they can go? Will those actually run out of air?
Yeah, we don't want to get into the specifics on. I believe they work just as well on run flats. I'm not entirely sure, but obviously those run flats are a lot more durable than regular tires. They may hold off a little bit longer, but they will stay. They will eventually get the job done by disabling the vehicle. But that is something that there's so many different tactics they use. But right now they seem to feel that the suspect is yes, driving fast, but not really driving recklessly here as we continue southbound here on the 405 at Beach Boulevard, but not driving recklessly enough to really. Sometimes, again, I talked about it before, the supervisors, they're the ones responsible for weighing all these things out. Should they do something? Should they just let it go the way it is? Should they let the suspect run out of fuel? All questions that are very, very difficult, and all based on experience that officer has, knowing who he's got in the pursuit and knowing what the suspect's wanted for. A lot of that information we just don't have right now, but that's their job, is to balance that out and make the right decisions at the right time. Very, very difficult thing to do.
Well, if this person had a full tank of gas, it might be a while before they run out of fuel, because I just looked it up, and the capacity is 28 gallons, and that's a pretty big size for a fuel tank, and the miles per gallon somewhere on the highway about 20 miles per gallon. So if it had a full tank, that could go up 400 and some miles. So it could be a while before this runs out of gas.
No doubt about that.
Yep. We are southbound at Magnolia now, continuing. But yeah, you said it, and Warner, the off-ramps very close together here. Coming up in the Fountain Valley area here, southbound 405 in the Orange County. We're looking ahead. We see John Wayne Airport quite a ways in the distance, but heading down in Orange County. But yeah, this, depending on how much fuel the suspect had in the vehicle at the time, it looks like, and the speeds they're going, and again, not the best gas mileage. That's probably Dave Kuhn's question, but not the best gas mileage in this vehicle. But it's going to go a ways, and it looks like the CHP's in for the long haul. The good news is they've got lots of units with lots of fuels, and they got one thing that's faster than him. That's a radio and a helicopter. So they can always call ahead and keep eyes on that suspect as we continue here southbound the 405 coming up on Brookhurst Street.
Now, obviously, the CHP has jurisdiction on the freeways, but again, if this person starts getting off on some surface streets, then we might see some local municipalities getting involved. Right. And does that complicate things when you start seeing these, the other municipalities getting in, the high rate of speed, the CHP?
Right. Well, what's good about that, Carlos, is that's what air support does. You've got CHP air support overhead. They are talking ahead. They're making sure that they communicate with all the agencies, even when we're passing by on the highway. They're talking to all the municipalities, all the agencies in the area, giving them a heads up if they're coming through the area, just in case a suspect does take one of the off-ramps in that city. The officers in that city have a heads up. And not only that, they'll be able to help set up a perimeter, set up a containment, because there's only, like we said, 4 or 5 CHP units. And if this is a suspect and he continues to run, you're going to need the help of the local agencies to help set up that containment or perimeter. The idea when a suspect runs through these yards is to get him contained in that area, set up officers around where he was last seen, and get it locked down for the canine officers to come in and use the dogs to search for that suspect. But one thing that they do is they get into these houses, they run through backyards, they jump fences, they want to get hidden, but that's what the air support comes in. That's their job, is to hold that suspect down from running, get officers deployed around that suspect, and take him into custody. It's not always advantageous for officers to run into backyards and chase these suspects through yards, because again, they don't know what's in those backyards. They don't know if they're running into an area that's friendly to the suspect, or the suspect has friends. It could be an ambush type situation. So all those things come into play when there's suspects, because right now the suspect's dictating where this pursuit goes and where it ends. And officers don't want to get baited into that situation, so they want to have all the resources ahead. So that's what happens with the air support units overhead. They're making sure that all the agencies in the area know what's going on. Again, Orange County sheriffs, I'm sure, are advised. I'm sure their air unit is advised. So in case this does go to surface streets, they'll let them know. Back to you.
Yeah, well, JT, now the suspect is making their way through Costa Mesa, and then we just saw the SUV CHP sort of switch positions again. Now another CHP officer tracking this suspect. But again, Carlos, you just said it. If the suspect has a lot of gas in its tank, this could be a very long chase. And for a failure to yield, that seems quite unusual. Right. It seems like why somebody would go this length to not be pulled over when they just fail to yield, or a possible DUI. It leaves a lot of people wondering, I'm sure. And JT, you said that the manager has to go through, the lead officer or the supervisor has to go through so many scenarios to figure out what is the best way to apprehend this person to keep the public, the suspect, law enforcement safe. And right now it seems like the suspect, like you said, is driving at sometimes very high speeds, but not really putting a lot of people in jeopardy, sort of minding the lane.
Right.
We did see earlier, I'm not sure if you saw it, but earlier, probably about...
Yeah, sorry about that, Colleen. We got cut out from the IFB there for a second. But yeah, that's exactly it. Southbound 405 coming up on the South Coast Plaza at the 55. Yeah, it's their job and to kind of balance all that out. And it's really important that they know what the suspect's wanted for. And again, they may have that information. We may not know. And it's again, just a failure to yield. And even a DUI at this point would be interesting why they weren't going to tracking mode and just getting this person at a different time. But we are continuing southbound on the 405 coming up on the 55, very near John Wayne Airport, just past South Coast Plaza as they continue on. But yeah, it's such a hard job, these supervisors, to make that right call, to make that right decision, and they seem to be very content with just letting the suspect do this. And again, as you mentioned, high speeds, but not entirely reckless. In and out of traffic every once in a while, but not so much where he's bumping into people or cutting them off. It's just a guy that you would see driving rather quickly on the freeway again at this point. That could change, but right now it seems to be the case.
And I see that he's still on the 405, so you said it's near the 55 there, the Costa Mesa Freeway?
I've got no IFB. Can you fix it?
Oh, okay. I think JT's having a hard time hearing us. But again, as we approach the 2 o'clock hour, you've been watching a good portion of the afternoon, watching this high-speed pursuit, which started either in Burbank or in Calabasas, but made its way through the valley and now in Orange County. Originally, we're being told that the suspect was wanted for failure to yield or possible DUI, but this chase has been going on for quite some time. And
going throughout the Los Angeles County, now into Orange County, but at first was going through the San Fernando Valley on the 101. Heading eastbound, then on the 405 north, went through Van Nuys, then head on the 210 east, then went through North Hills, back on the 405, and now has been on the 405 for about almost an hour, just heading southbound on the 405, and now in Orange County and right near John Wayne Airport.
Absolutely, and this, like you said, this chase could be happening for quite some time. And I know JT Alpa is in Air 7 HD, and he's been talking about. All right, JT, we can hear that you're back. We're sort of updating the audience. Also, if for some reason you do need to take off and get to your location, you can always watch this on abc7.com or on the ABC7 app, just to see where this police chase is taking place, to make sure that you or your loved ones can kind of stay away from it. But again, JT, there are so many variables that have to be taken into consideration on what to do with pulling over this suspect. And again, at least the person has been somewhat minding the rules of the road, other than crossing over the double yellows right there.
Well, it's hard to say what their tactics are right now, but they're content with letting the suspect continue. Here, just for an update on location, we're southbound on the 405 freeway. We just passed Jamboree in the Irvine area. Coming the next thing we'll come up on is El Toro Y, back merging into the 5 ends. So we'll see what he does, or he or she, I should say, does from that point forward. But it is a he. We are confirmed that it is a male suspect. We are getting that confirmed, so we can safely say he at this particular time. But yeah, as we continue down through the area, we had a pursuit earlier today. Did very much the same thing. Went all the way down to the San Diego area, and hopefully that's not the case here. But we got plenty of fuel in Air 7 HD, at least another probably hour and a half worth of fuel, maybe a little over an hour. As it continues south down here, we're going to stay with the suspect. Hopefully they will run out of fuel before we need to get fuel as the pursuit continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank goodness we do have two helicopters. But again, let's just hope this comes to a peaceful resolution and the person just pulls over and gives up. But at this point, there's no telling why the suspect is continuously trying to evade officers. Really not evading them. I mean, they are in clear sight. They do realize that they're being tracked from the air and from the ground, but why they are choosing not to pull over is, beyond any of our comprehension.
Yeah, we get that a lot with suspects. Always the question's asked, well, why'd you run? You knew you were going to be in custody. And the answer seems to be, well, the longer I'm out of handcuffs, the better. And that seems to be always the answer, which is they know they're going to get caught. And very rare, if ever, there are instances where the suspects get away. But it happens. But most of the time, in fact, all the time, they do get taken in custody. Southbound 405 here at Jeffrey Road, just for an update. But the longer that they're out of cuffs, I mean, they could be talking to family members on the phone, saying, again, it's so difficult to tell because we don't know really, other than the failure to yield, what the suspect's wanted for. I would, again, I hate to assume or speculate, but it probably wanted for something more than that at this particular time, or it could be someone that's just distraught. So there's so many things the officers have to take into account. And right now, they have the information that we don't, and they're probably just trying to maintain. They may be communicating, trying to negotiate. We've seen that before when they actually get a cell phone number. But again, if it's a stolen vehicle, and they may not know who it is, because obviously it's a stolen vehicle, they're not going to know the suspect's name or phone number unless they call CHP. So there's a lot of variables that are in account right now. And again, they probably know a lot more than we do as we continue southbound on the 403 freeway coming up on Sand Canyon, the Sand Canyon area.
And that's about where the 405 ends and meets up with the 5. But I can see that there's no traffic. It seems to be, again, this person has plenty of room to go.
Yep, looking down at the El Toro Y, Carlos. I don't see any traffic on the where it merges with the 5 southbound. Looks wide open here down through the Orange County, the Tustin area, Laguna Hills. As far as I can see out the window, Air 7 HD. It looks pretty wide open here. So hopefully they have an opportunity to possibly use another pursuit intervention technique, spike strip, or maybe a pit maneuver, or just wait this thing out and wait for the the suspect to run out of fuel here. But right now they're content.
Well, as you can see, Air 7's picture just is freezing up a little bit. But again, we've been watching this pursuit taking place for quite some time. And again, this suspect seems to have no regard for anybody in the sense that they don't have any desire to pull over.
Right. And it's been going on for 2 hours now in South Orange County. Again, it started believed to be in Calabasas, maybe Burbank, some confusing information, but been going on for 2 hours throughout parts of LA County and now into Orange County, in South Orange County near Irvine, and where the 405 ends, and apparently the suspect may have to get on the 5 freeway and continue heading south. Is that correct?
Working on it.
Yeah, JT, you might be able to hear us. We have our picture back again, but we do know that the suspect was wanted for failure to stop. And we're looking at some video, Air 7 video from Air 7 HD. But again, the suspect was wanted for failure to yield and possible DUI. So we know that the person wants to get away from authorities. Authorities are going to stay on this suspect for as long as it takes before this person can be pulled over, or possibly using any other maneuvers to pull this, get this person to want to give up, whether it being spike strips or pit maneuver or what other means that they can have. But again, this suspect is not giving any indication as they go through Irvine that they are planning to stop and pull over at any moment.
And there you see what the driver has been doing, just weaving in and out of lanes, sometimes going at a decent speed, but other times speeding up as much as 90 plus miles an hour to get away from traffic, and sometimes doing some very erratic moves as it changes lanes. And there you see it right now, changing lanes again. So this has been the pattern for the last 2 hours, just moving around, trying to get away from traffic, but giving no indication that they plan on stopping.
No, and you're watching, again, live pictures from Air 7 HD right now, and you can see, Carlos, you're talking about that they're on the 405 South right now, but they're going to be heading to the 5 within moments, I believe.
Yeah, they're running out of 405 freeway.
Yep. Guys, if you've got us back, we've made the transition onto the 5 freeway at the El Toro Y, so now we're a 5 freeway southbound from the El Toro Y here, and continuing down through the South Orange County area, and speed's about the same, about 80 plus miles an hour right now. We'll see that change from time to time. Suspects moved over to the number 2 and 3 lanes, but as they actually merge into the traffic here, he may move back over the left again. We're looking at the HOV lane. It looks like there's at least 2 HOV lanes, so he seems to like that left-hand HOV lanes, and he's got another HOV lane to play with, at least on this stretch of the 5 freeway here. It looks like he's actually doing that right now.
And again, this person seems to have hit that sweet spot of traffic just before the afternoon rush, after the morning and the lunch crowd rush, right around noon to 3 p.m. when it seems like these freeways, much better than when I get on these freeways. It seems to be going at very clear sailing for this person.
Yeah, it's just, it's funny. It seems to be the case here, and I've covered several of these, and it just sometimes they get the luck of the draw, and they just get the wide open freeways at the most times where you think the freeways would be packed, and that seems to be one of those times here. Southbound 405 coming through the Laguna Hills area, coming up on El Toro Road is, I think, our next off-ramp here. Speed's about 80 and 90 miles an hour, but just CHP has probably transitioned through at least two or three different agencies at this part, as far as geographical agencies. We're getting some word that there may be another pursuit intervention technique coming up here. We're not going to divulge where or when that is, but that might be something that's coming up here, and we'll let you know how that works out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always watch. We're always trying to see, is something going to happen where this person is going to end up just being forced to stop and pull over.
And what would be the maximum speed that they can do because I know that if it's too fast, they don't want the driver getting out of control.
Yeah, don't want to go into a lot of the details of what's too fast and what's too slow, but it just depends on the severity of what the suspect is wanted for and how badly they want him in custody. And again, it goes back to that supervisor. There is a speed range they like to do it in. Obviously, too slow, it doesn't mean anything because they can go right around it. Too fast, you could obviously deal with situations where it may be more safe. It would be less safe for the officers to put themselves in a speeding vehicle at that speed. So it depends. It depends a lot on the situation here as we come up southbound 5, I should say, at Alicia Parkway here as we continue on. So that varies, Carlos. I know it's a difficult question to answer, but it really depends on that supervisor and how quickly he wants to end this pursuit based on the information that he knows about the suspect.
And there we see the pattern where when they're through traffic, they try to speed up to get through the traffic, then slow down a bit, but now speeding up again. I mean, that's the pattern that this person has been doing for about 2 hours now.
Yeah, Yeah, we're coming up on La Paz Road here, and southbound on the 5 here. But yeah, he's going back and forth, and he'll look ahead. And again, I'm looking in here, and as far as I can see, is just clear sailing on the southbound 5 as far as traffic through Mission Viejo, down towards where the 73 is. It's just wide open down in southern Orange County right here. Picking up speeds again out of the HOV lane. He's just going where the traffic is not in his way. He doesn't really care if he's going to the HOV lane or the number 1 lane. He's just kind of maneuvering through traffic. He's giving a wide berth to the vehicles he passes, which is very good news. But it continues on here, and we'll see what happens here. This another pursuit intervention technique happens here on southbound 5.
Yeah, we're of course all watching, and again, anybody who's has to get out the door, they can obviously listen to this streaming live right now on abc7.com. And I do certainly know that I have listened to the ABC7 app when I have been driving to work, and I know that it's very helpful to have this in your ear, just because you just never know the movements of a suspect who's trying to get away and how desperate they are and what freeways they're going to take. At one moment you're thinking, oh, there's no way they're going to be on my freeway, and then look at this suspect, they're just all over the place.
Well, absolutely. I've called my family and told them, hey, they're on the 101, get out of that area. Yeah. Because you never know what they're going to do.
Absolutely. Just crossing through Mission Viejo as we're seeing this high-speed pursuit at times, like right now on the 5 southbound.
Yeah, we're coming up on Crown Valley Parkway here, which is right before the 73, where the 73 merges back into the 5. Right at Crown Valley Parkway. But I have to reiterate what you guys are speaking of, because it's so true. A lot of people ask us, well, why do you cover these pursuits? Why are you doing this? And the answer I always give is I put the scenario up. If you were living in your neighborhood and you turn on ABC7 and you see a pursuit and you recognize, hey, that's a market near our house, or that's a street near our house, and you know your kids are playing in the front yard, we want you to be able to make that decision and say, hey, kids, come in the house till this thing is well out of our area. And usually people get it when we do that, because it's so important as a public service that everybody knows where the suspect is. Luckily, this one's remained on the freeway at reasonable speeds. I say reasonable fast, but reasonable, not really reckless. But again, these things change on a dime. If this guy gets off the freeway, his demeanor, his actions could completely change when he gets on surface streets. He could blow through red lights. Again, we're speculating, but we've seen that happen before, where they're driving calmly on a freeway like this, and they get onto those surface streets, and the whole thing changes, and their demeanor changes. So it's always a big unknown, and it's such the responsibility of that supervisor in that pursuit to make the right call at the right time is just so important here. As the CHP continues here southbound on the 5 freeway, we're just passing the 73 freeway here, coming back through the Ladera Ranch area, coming up on San Juan Capistrano in just a few miles.
And there we saw him doing an erratic lane change again, and the CHP was right behind him for a few seconds and then pulled back again. So again, part of the pattern, I guess, to, like you said, to put some pressure on him to know that the CHP is still behind him.
Well, what you saw there is CHP tried to deploy another spike strip. It's uncertain if he hit or not, but that quick movement you saw was him trying to get around that. Again, such a dangerous situation for those guys in such fast-moving traffic, even the traffic that's not in pursuit, moving very, very quickly. Officers putting their lives in danger by getting out there and trying to throw that thing at the very last second out in front of the suspect to get them slowed down. But uncertain if they did get him on that one or not, but it looks like he is continuing on. If he did, we'll probably know very shortly. You can see that CHP SUV moving up closer to him, trying to get a better look, maybe look at the tires to see if they did get a hit on the tires. But now we're moving into the San Juan Capistrano area, southbound 5, coming up on Camino Capistrano, I believe.
Yeah, and getting stuck behind a little bit of slower moving traffic in front of this suspect. And again, all eyes are sort of looking at those tires just to see if that driver has to suddenly start the car starting to jerk or anything. But as of right now, it doesn't look like they're being impacted by if there was a spike strip. But again, not being able to get over. So.
Yeah, it takes a little time for those to actually work. If they did get a hit on that, it takes a few minutes. And we talked about it earlier. It depends on the tires, too. Run flat tires may take a little bit longer here as we continue southbound with 5, coming up on Ortega Highway. May take a little longer than your normal tires, and that's a heavy-duty vehicle, so uncertain if it's got the run flats on it. But it's starting to pick up speed again right now as it continues southbound here, but no change on the demeanor of the driver and the demeanor of the CHP. They're continuing this pursuit.
So then if it did clip the tires, it would have been on the driver's side, which we wouldn't be able to see from there, because the 2 tires on the right seem to be okay. They seems to be moving without a problem there.
Yeah, a lot of times that's exactly what happens. They'll try to swing to avoid it. And a lot of times those left side tires, the front and rear left side, are the ones that get hit. and that's plenty. If they get one, they even get two, it slows them down enough to incapacitate the vehicle. That's exactly what they want here during this pursuit. But it's uncertain if you hit. You saw that erratic movement here just a few minutes ago. We think that happened near the overpass, and we believe he was able to get around that.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing that he can do that at those speeds.
No kidding.
To be able to see it and get around it and keep control of the vehicle and be able to continue. That's just incredible.
Yeah, he's definitely sharp enough that if he was driving on the influence, he's sharp enough to avoid something like that. He's been sharp enough to avoid vehicles out in front of him. Nothing I can see at this particular time says that he's incapacitated other than driving fast and trying to get away. You can see he's getting that car in front of him. He's kind of in a little area there where he can't get through, waiting to see how that traffic develops. Kind of a little bit of a roadblock right there. You see cars moved over for him. And, not much different than what you or I might do if we're in a hurry, hopefully not driving this fast. But it's a situation where he's getting into a little bit of traffic here, but I'm looking ahead here as we continue southbound, coming up on the Capistrano Beach area. Doesn't seem to be a lot of traffic ahead either.
Wow, and you were just saying it. I certainly know if I were in front of this, I would be moving over for sure. There would be, I would not be putting myself in jeopardy of this person who's trying to get away.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about before. Even though it's difficult to hear that emergency equipment, some of these, they see this guy maneuvering. Sometimes when things are moving quickly in your rearview mirror, you catch sight of them, you look up, and then you might see the black and white. More than likely, you're going to see the lights before you'll actually hear the emergency equipment or sirens. And you'll see them maneuver out to the right here. You'll probably see this gray car here do it, just get over to the right. But it's difficult to hear them. But if they see him coming, they usually get over to the right. And unfortunately, they get out of the way of the suspect. It doesn't slow them down. But the suspect's taking advantage of that and continuing on here. Trying to get you across street here. I think we're Camino Las Ramblas here, as that the part of the 5 freeway kind of goes right into the Capistrano Beach area, and then it turns back to the southeast, and you're paralleling the Pacific Coast Highway as you make your way down towards San Clemente. We're working our way back towards San Clemente, Dana Point area, and probably we keep going at this speed, probably another 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, this is certainly an area where a lot of, a beautiful stretch of Southern California, but again, at the area, not a lot of traffic, which of course anybody who does this drive knows that this area is usually filled with traffic, especially on going in and out for the weekends. But again, right now, it seems like the traffic has been very, very light for this driver and for the authorities. But again, we've been monitoring this high-speed chase for going on 2 hours now, wanting for failure to yield, Carlos, and possible DUI. And you've seen this driver just go all over the place.
Absolutely. Changing lanes, slowing down, speeding up, at times more than 90 miles an hour. Coming close to some vehicles, but I do not believe he actually hit or clipped any vehicle. So that's the good news. But yes, it's been dangerous speeds, and that's why the CHP has been behind him, keeping a safe distance just to make sure that this person doesn't do anything reckless that could really cause a problem.
Absolutely. And this started in the San Fernando Valley in Calabasas or Burbank area and wound its way, stayed in the valley for quite some time, and then went through the Sepulveda Pass and then South Bay, and now in Orange County, and making its way towards San Clemente. So again, I mean, at this point, it's anyone's guess when the suspect's going to pull over. But you do see right there, Carlos, right when the CHP gets a little close to that suspect's rear part of the car to say, "We're here, just pull over."
Yep.
Right, JT, you're watching this too. You're seeing that the CHP is just kind of getting a little closer, giving that pressure, saying, "Just pull over."
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. We talked about it earlier, how the CHP will come up, get in the rearview mirror, make sure that, hey, we're not going anywhere, we're right here, and then we'll back off a little bit. It's just to let them know that they're not getting away. Hard on the brakes there, getting back over the left lane. You saw that. That was a situation that we haven't seen before. It looked like he was hard on the brakes here as we were passing Avenida Vista Hermosa here, southbound on the 5. Avenida Pico is in the area right now as you come up through the this patchy marine layer.
Right. Well, again,
we're going to have to. Yeah, we're breaking up here because we're going to have to climb a little bit as we go a little bit further south here, so we'll work on that for you. But getting a little bit of issues with the cloud cover, some patchy marine layer coming through. So every once in a while you may see a cloud come through our shot. So we just want to be aware of that. But we're above those clouds, but keeping a lot of distance here. What we want to do on Air 7, we stay very, very high. We have a very, very powerful camera with a long lens, and our main goal is to stay out of the way of the law enforcement. You can see that cloud going through the shot. To stay out of the way of law enforcement air support as well, because there are usually one, maybe two helicopters over these things. So we want to give them a wide berth to do what they need to do down there. So we have this technology at Air 7, on Air 7 HD. Both our helicopters are able to really give a good look. We're probably about a half mile away from this at least 2,000 feet as we're coming down in the oceanside area. And this is the area that we go down towards San Clemente, down towards San Onofre, and then it gets in an area where we transition into northern San Diego County through the Pendleton area, and we'll see if we go down there for the second time today. This is the second pursuit. Air 7 HD has been down through there earlier this morning. We had one that went down through this area, so this is the second one of the day, which is pretty unusual.
Absolutely. And then, after the CHP officers, don't they, well, I'm not sure, I know you don't work for the CHP or anything, but it seems like they must debrief after each one of these pursuits to see how did they handle it, what do they need to do the next time, how is it best to pull over these suspects?
Yeah, absolutely. Every one of these pursuits, you can guarantee on each one of these agencies, we'll get by some of this cloud cover in just a second. We're just getting through a few of these patchy clouds. They debrief every one of these. They'll sit down after and they'll say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we do better? They're always debriefed, and to learn from them, to make the right decisions. Again, we keep talking about it. That supervisor in the pursuit, it is his main job to stay true to his department's policy on all that they can do more safely and to keep the public safe. That's the number one concern, to keep the officers and the public safe. And the apprehension of the suspect comes after that. So, and even the suspect, keeping the suspect safe. So that's always debriefed, if you will, after any one of these things. Any tactical incident, there's a debriefing that goes on. They really want to understand how they can do things better, and in this situation, what they could change or do differently. But it remains to see how this is going to terminate or how this is going to end. Hopefully the suspect will run out of gas here, and it'll be over very non-dramatically, is what they hope for.
Yeah, that's what we sort of all hope for. I would say, as we see Air 7, kind of the picture breaking up again a little bit, but they're clearly along the coastline with having this marine layer keep on kind of coming in and coming out of the shot. But this has been going on for quite some time, and again, no traffic for this suspect.
And about to enter San Diego County, if it's not in San Diego County already, because it's right near the border of Orange County and San Diego County. So this person has been driving for quite a long time and quite a long distance from the West Valley through the north part of the San Fernando Valley through all of Orange County.
Oh, and you can really see how far away Air 7 HD is. You can see how powerful your camera lens is, JT, when you pull back, and you can see all the CHP officers obviously in pursuit as well.
Yeah, you can see about 4 or 5 units there. We can see maybe a few more that are trailing a little loosely. We're passing Chasen Road here on the southbound 5, again, moving down towards the San Onofre Airport. In fact, San Onofre Nuclear Power Facility, which is not active right now, is coming into view right now. Right now, what we need to do is, this is near Camp Pendleton, so what we do is we coordinate with Pendleton, and we're all talking to them to get a special transition through the Military Operations Center. They do a lot of military training, a lot of military aircraft, and training down that goes on in these beaches here as we go into northern San Diego County. So we want to make sure we're communicating with them. We're up high. We're probably about 2 miles off the shore right now. You can't really see right now because of our long lens, but we're 2 miles off the shore, and we're climbing up to about 2,000 feet above sea level just to maintain the distance for both signal and for safety here as we go down through this military active area for Pendleton. But yeah, they're coming down through the San Onofre area. In fact, looking out the window right now, we'll probably see them go through the shot, and we'll pull out in a second as it gets a beam San Onofre Nuclear Power Facility. And everybody knows that as they're coming down that 5 freeway going to the San Diego area. That is a big landmark there. We'll pull out, show that off to the right just a little bit as they continue on this pursuit. And again, second one of the day going down into San Diego, which is highly unusual, but we're going to stay with it as long as we can.
Does it look like the suspect is stopping, JT, or is it just, again, is it it looks like the suspect's slowing down?
Yep, it looks like we may have either run out of gas here, or maybe The tires are out, but grabbing the right shoulder here, right near being San Onofre here. So we're going to slow down. We're going to maybe come inland just a little bit and see how this terminates. Now this becomes a tricky situation. This is what's called a high-risk felony stop. They don't know the suspect's armed. They don't know what's going on. They may have more information than we do, but they're going to use the PA system. They're going to use their weapons right of San Onofre here on the southbound 405. They're going to use their weapons, and they're going to point, and they're going to give that suspect specific commands on what to do and how to do it. So we're going to push in. We can push in just a little bit here. We'll see. We're going to try to get a little bit. We got some cloud cover over here. We're going to try to push a little bit this way, maybe a little bit this way, Brian. And you can see they've got a K9 standing by, which is always a good thing. K9 is in. This is a good area. K9 is. Looks like the door possibly opening right now,
yeah,
which is a good sign that they're possibly complying. We'll see what happens here. Hands are up.
Okay, that's good. That's a good
looks
sign.
Like they are. Yeah, this is all good. What they're doing is they're giving specific commands to him. Walk backwards towards the sound of my voice. They may ask the person to lift their shirt up so they can see their waistband, which is a common space for suspects to hide weapons. Walking back to the sound of my voice. It almost looks like the shirt is off. It's hard to see right now, but it's a tank top. So yeah, there's the lifting of the shirt to show the waistband. They may have him turn around to the front and back to make sure. Does that look like it's a female? Possibly a female?
Can't tell. I didn't see. Yeah, I can't tell.
Okay, well, they're walking her back to the sound of their voice, and what's going to happen is you'll see him or her, walk back to shop 214. They're going to go ahead and put handcuffs on that person right now, and then what they'll do is they'll get a team together, and they'll do what's called clearing of the car. They'll walk up in the car, they'll open up the doors, they'll check the back, they'll make sure there's no additional suspects, additional victims, a child, anything in there that could be a danger to the officers, so they want to make sure that that's taken care of right now. You can see the cuffs are going on. You'll have one officer cover, or one officer will actually cuff up that suspect and ask for the hand behind the back. That is going very well. The K9 standing by in case there's anybody else in that car. It makes a run for it. But right now they'll put together that clearing team. They'll get an officer or two to walk up on that car and go ahead and clear it. As soon as that is cleared, they'll do what's called a code 4, which means no further assistance necessary. The situation is under command, under control, and they'll put that suspect in the back of the car, and that will be that. We're looking at traffic on the southbound 5 freeway. I'm looking out the window to let you know it is backing up, but not too terribly. But hopefully get this vehicle out of here very quickly. Suspect is at the back of the vehicle right now. K9 being secured. They're going to see that team. We'll see Richard go look. They'll get a couple of officers together for that clearing team, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. Didn't quite go as far as this morning's pursuit, but as soon as they get the all clear here, the car's clear, this should be it. And we're hoping that's the case.
Well, as we were talking about just moments ago, we wanted this to come to an end and not come to an end in a very dramatic way. This seems very anticlimactic for such a long pursuit, but which is a great thing. The person did exactly what they were told, walked backwards, showed that they were unarmed, and then it was as if it was like perfectly choreographed, JT, because sometimes these people stay inside the car for hours before they actually surrender. So now this is the very interesting part, because they do the sweep of the car, and sometimes they will find things that kind of lead them to the reason on why that the person's been it's going for so long.
You can see how difficult it is for them to clear the car, especially with that tint. So they're going to have to go around the driver's side, unlock the door, and then try again. But it looks like they were able to see enough in there. We'll get a little exhaust. We'll keep it moving here. To get in there and actually clear the car, and it looks like it's cleared, and you can see the demeanor of the officer is changing right away from tactical to okay, it's over with. So that's a good sign. No additional victims, no additional suspects, nothing to be concerned in the car, and that's how it ends. Right now, the suspect in custody ended very well. A little bit of a traffic backup, but no one hurt, no officers injured, no one hurt during the pursuit during a traffic accident. This is about as good as an ending you can get during one of these. So we're really happy to bring it to you that it ended in this way.
Well, thank goodness it ended in a peaceful way, but again, for 2 hours, such a complete waste of time, because as you know, these guys always get caught, so it just makes, again, no sense.
No sense, but also let's talk about where this chase started. Again, it started in Burbank, Calabasas area. I know it's sort of far away. We'll narrow down that detail, but again, started with the failure to yield and a possible driving under the influence stop, and then that person just kept taking off, and it through Sherman Oaks and Van Nuys and Sylmar, and then sort of made it through the Sepulveda Pass and made its way through the west side and ended up in San Onofre, where it looked like the suspect probably ran out of gas. Not that I want to speculate, but it just kind of stopped. We didn't see any smoke coming out of the tires or anything like that.
I think it's fair to say, because what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the CHP actually use their vehicle to push the suspect vehicle off to the right shoulder. Obviously, if it still had Go Juice fuel in it, it'd be able to dry it off on their own. What they want to do is they want to clear lanes right now. They want to get all that lanes open so they can get these people trying to get down to San Diego area on their way, which looks like they're going to be able to do here very shortly as they get everything off the freeway here. Back up, not too bad, only about a little mile right now. Even that should clear up very quickly. But it looks like he ran out of gas. That would be the indicator for us that he had to get pushed out by that CHP cruiser.
Sometimes it's just so great that they run out of gas, and that comes to a very peaceful conclusion, because again, these can become hours long barricaded